Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Issues at hand.
Yes, welcome to our program, of course, Issues at Hand with me, Hope Nyongereza today. And of course, today we have a special guest in our studio. You'll definitely get to know that in a few. But of course, we know that corruption is something that has been going on in the country for a long time. It is a vice that has been standing in the country. And of course, we stand to fight for it, not only us as individuals, but even, other leaders within the country. And today with us, we have the Deputy Inspector General of Government, Dr. Patricia Achan Okiria.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
Thank you very much, Hope.
Yes.
I'm indeed very happy to be here this morning to have this conversation. Mm-hmm. Yes, and good morning, viewers out there. Mm-hmm.
Now, it's been 4 years. 4 years at the helm of fighting corruption. First and foremost, just briefly, tell us how the journey has been.
It is not yet 4 years, Hope. It is 4 years in a month's time.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the journey has been quite exciting and also challenging. But by God's grace, we have learned how to sail above the tide and take every challenge as an opportunity to strike higher and aim higher and do better. Yes.
Well, that's very, very interesting. Now, even as you've given us, just if you can give us just a snippet of, you have told us that it has been quite challenging, but you have also fought, the fight.
Yes.
It is something that we still continue to do as a country as a whole.
Yes.
So to start with, what are some of those achievements that you can say you have had, also even generally as the IGG as a whole? How has it been?
It has been very exciting. Well, when we came into office, we introduced some ideas on how to fight corruption better. We thought about new and innovative ways in dealing with the challenge because, like you have just said, corruption remains a big challenge, not only in Uganda here, but also in the whole world globally. Yeah. So we decided to introduce new strategies in dealing with the problem. First of all, we said our strategy is preventive, where we want to prevent the loss of resources by government in government agencies. And the preventive approach entailed us to do more of recoveries. If you have caused loss, then you pay back. Pay back and make good. But at the same time, we have been upholding the prosecution arm of the inspectorate, where we would say, well, if we are recovering, you recover through plea bargain. So we would obtain a conviction as well. So we also introduced a lifestyle audit, which is a new investigative approach, especially on leaders, where we would have to look at your accumulation of wealth, and it would help us to detect quickly the primitive accumulation of wealth. And we realize that people, when they get money, suddenly they want to run and invest in real estate. So it became so easy for us to detect those anomalies, and we have been able to recover both property and resources in our asset recovery fund, which goes back to the government's consolidated fund and is plowed back to doing the work it is supposed to do. So it has been quite exciting, but we have also had setbacks where we are challenged in terms of resources, where you want to implement activities and you're constrained by resources. You want to recover, you want to conduct investigations, and resources are insufficient. You don't only have financial resources, but also human resources. So in terms of manpower, it has been quite challenging. But we learned over time to cut our coat according to the cloth, where we put the little we get to very good use and end up getting output out of it. So it has been very, very exciting, a journey. And we thank God for thus far. We hereby just say Ebenezer. And we are looking forward to continuing to work and carry on the mantle. You've spoken about the lifestyle audit. Just recently we saw that the public workers, they had to to show what assets they have, the amount that they have. They had to bring it to the inspectorate so that, we can be able to tell Yes.
as a nation, because I mean it was out in the open. But have you faced any challenges with people refusing to actually claim what resources they have?
Well, I have been supervising the Directorate for Leadership Code over the 4 years, and we have seen the different trends when it comes to declaration of incomes, assets, and liabilities.
Yes.
And leaders, by law, under the Leadership Code Act, are supposed to declare their incomes, assets, and liabilities to the inspectorate every 2 years, and public officials every 4 years.
Yeah.
We are now preparing to receive declarations from the public officials, which will happen next year in April. But talking about leaders, we have had instances where people under-declare. And how do we discover this? When we do the verifications. During the verifications, we are basically double checking to ensure that what you declared is commensurate to your well-known sources of income. But if in the event they are not, then we basically investigate your case and subject it to the Leadership Code Tribunal. And a month ago, we did publish the cases handled by the Leadership Code Tribunal. And people were in shock to see that, hey, someone can get demoted. Someone can ask to forfeit property to government.
Yeah.
Someone can be disciplined and asked to pay a fine or fines. So the Leadership Code Act is actually biting. And through the Leadership Code Tribunal, they have handled and disposed of so many cases which we sanction from the Inspectorate of Government. So leaders out there are supposed to declare. And why do they do that? Because it's a tenet of good governance. It's a requirement of the law for every responsible leader to declare his incomes, assets, and liabilities, so that they can actually get to build trust from the people they are leading.
Yes.
Because the law says in the Constitution, within Objective 26 on the directive principles and objectives of state policy, that we hold these positions in trust of the people. So whatever it is we do, we are doing it for the good of the people. So as leaders, all persons placed in positions of responsibility, of leadership, are actually in those positions to serve the people, and therefore we need to be trustworthy, we need to be honest, we need to serve with integrity. And when people know our worth, then they will know that when Patricia was in this office for these 4 years, she did not steal. This is her well-known source of income. She came with this, and she has been able to serve honesty, and that's how we build trust among the people. Yes.
Okay, just a question along that. How do you deal with criticism? Because, I mean, this is the Inspectorate of Government, and
well, as a leader, if you're not criticized, then I think you need to question your leadership. Because, criticism is what sharpens leadership. You recall Nehemiah when he was rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem.
Yes.
He was criticized. You remember the stories of the Sanballats, that what is this you're doing? Are you going to manage it? And he examines the wall and goes on. He doesn't tear or give up. So as leaders, when we are criticized, like people have told us to our faces, why are you catching small fish, Mukene? And we're like, hey, look, one by one makes a bundle. Big or small, it's all corruption. Crime is all crime. You don't discriminate and say this is small crime, this is big crime.
Yes.
So we have had that attitude. And when you're criticized, you also build thick skin and get to know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, positive criticism really helps. It helps us sharpen up ourselves. It helps us improve on our strategies.
Yes.
Like people have often complained that they don't get feedback, which is good criticism, because now we realize if we are to change the perspective of the citizens, we need to give feedback to them. We need to keep in touch with them. If we are saying the fight against corruption is the people's war, then as the leaders in the institution, we need to be ready and prepared to listen to the people. Both positive and negative criticism is very, very commendable, and it helps us actually improve and work better and come up with new strategies. Yes.
Okay. Now you have spoken about, why people say you handle the small fish, not the big fish. So how does the IGG deal with high-profile cases politically, without fear or favor?
Well, we have a mandate. The law gives us powers to handle such cases, and that is the strength we have. So when the law says I can order arrest, when the law gives me power to sanction, I don't say I will only sanction the big ones or the small ones.
Yeah.
I sanction all cases without fear or favor, because I have a backing of the law. If the law is empowering me to do my work, then I should present myself to be seen to be doing that work and to do it effectively and efficiently. So, and we were celebrating the African Anti-Corruption Day recently on the 11th under the theme promoting human dignity in the fight against corruption. And you have heard the inspectorate saying that the fight against corruption is the people's war. So that means in order to promote that human dignity, we have to first of all deal with issues of corruption and then bring them on board and say, hey, this is our war. As human beings, report these cases to the Inspectorate of Government. As citizens, let's own this war against corruption and be able to deal with it together, because anti-corruption work is basically a human-centered effort. So we rely on the citizens who come up and report these cases to us so that we take action. And we have seen it working very, very well that way. We have first of all trained and equipped the citizens with knowledge on how to fight corruption, how to report cases of corruption. The citizens are now able to demand for accountability from an informed perspective because they are equipped. We have had cases coming in through social media.
Yes.
Whistleblowers sending us messages on WhatsApp, and we have taken action. So we really are very happy to get to these 4 years with the support and help of the citizens in the war against corruption. And going forward, I think the citizens need to continue supporting government institutions in this war against corruption, because it is the people's war. At the end of the day, if money is misused, if there are no drugs in hospital, if roads are not done well, if people are getting jobs with fake papers, it is an ordinary person who is a victim of corruption. So for us as the Inspectorate of Government, we reaffirm our commitment to this war against corruption and to upholding human dignity, because you realize that corruption and human rights are like cousins.
Yes.
If we do not fight corruption, then it has got implications on human rights as well. So for me, I was very excited when I saw the theme for the African Anti-Corruption Day on promoting human dignity in the fight against corruption, because I realized if corruption happens, if people are paying bribes and cheating and stealing money from government, then at the end of the day, service delivery is affected and human dignity is affected. And this is the reason why people need to own this war against corruption, because they are citizens and they are the victims of corruption. Yes.
Then, Dr. Patricia, if you could tell us if the Inspectorate has any strategic reforms or initiatives, to strengthen the drive against corruption.
Well, the Inspectorate, we now have got a follow-up unit, following up on our recommendations and orders, where sometimes we order that you pay back and some people just ignore those orders. But now the follow-up unit is reinforced, and because it's reinforced as a strategy, we have been able to recover over 40 billion in our asset recovery fund from people who had defaulted paying back money to government. And in recovering that, I see us recently, we had a report in 2021, 2022 saying the cost of corruption is 10 trillion. If we can recover that 40 billion consistently or even more, then I see us saving the 10 trillion, which the government loses to corruption, both overt and covert corruption. Because like we said, corruption is a serious violation on human dignity, because corruption actually deepens more human rights inequalities and also promotes injustice out there, because when people are not treated fairly, then they basically end up as victims of corruption. Then the fight against corruption also requires a collective effort, and I think this is the reason why you see several agencies, the Interagency Forum. We have the Office of the Director of Prosecutions, Public Prosecutions. We have the Directorate for Ethics and Integrity, State House Anti-Corruption Unit and several other agencies. Collectively, we need to fight this war against corruption. So I think it's not time to say it's only the Inspectorate of Government which should. Well, we are the lead anti-corruption agency, but we need reinforcement from all these other institutions and agencies. And this is the reason why we sometimes have to do the joint investigations, the joint inspections, because when we are together, then we are stronger together as a team. Yes.
Then what efforts has the inspectorate made to ensure that awareness is created, especially to the public, people down there? Have you done anything to ensure that this is something that is actually spoken of and people are being told that this is a vice that we should not actually engage in as a country?
Well, we have relied on several strategies here. We have used the barazas, where we get to engage with the technical people and the community, and we get feedback from the community, and we actually generate more cases from the community. But also we have trained community monitoring groups with the support of the civil society. Community monitoring groups, especially in refugee hosting districts. And these have really been very helpful, because the community monitoring groups basically go to monitor government projects and programs at the grassroots, and they report to us where there is a red flag. And I think this is a new strategy. Then we have also done the community scorecard, which is a very, very important accountability tool, where we get feedback directly from the community on what we are doing. It helps us to measure progress on whether we are actually having significant impact or not. It helps show us areas where we really need to improve. Then we have done lots of radio talk shows and television talk shows like this, and encourage the community, members of the public, to report cases of corruption to us. And we have also specifically targeted the youth. I have a partnership with UBC, where we have a program called Your Space. And in this program, we are basically unpacking the national values of this country. And we look at value per value. And here we are basically equipping the youth to be ambassadors of integrity. We are saying integrity is a cornerstone or bedrock of somebody's character. Integrity is about walking in truthfulness, in honesty, about displaying yourself with an exemplary character, because today integrity is something that is missing or lacking among many people. So many people compromise standards, they don't stand by principles and values and so on. So when we preach integrity, then we get leaders, young leaders who are refined, who are grounded in these values and principles, who are ready to take on positions of responsibility, because they will be trustworthy and they will be able to uphold these principles of honesty and truthfulness as they do their work. Yes, so we have had those initiatives basically to equip the people. And then we have the integrity promotion forums, integrity promotion clubs in the schools, integrity promotion forums in the districts, but we continue to engage with the districts. We go to local government and tell them we have a conversation on how to work with integrity, on how to adhere to the provisions of the law and policies while doing their work, so that we don't have these mishaps. But of course, there are times when you talk to them and they again go in breach, and after talking nicely to them, we again seem to be sanctioning arrests and taking them to be prosecuted and so on. But they serve as a deterrent. When you do that, then the other people see the example, and they don't want to be caught up in that kind of situation. So in so doing, we then change the mindset and polish up the way government operates, especially at local government and district levels. Yes.
Okay, so we do know that however much we are trying to fight corruption as a country, we do understand that also some of the hindrances is that some people fear to come out, especially when there's something happening somewhere, but they do have the fear. So we can say that is one of the hindrances of fighting corruption. So are there any mechanisms that you've put in place, to protect such whistleblowers?
Well, we have got the Whistleblower Protection Act, and the spirit behind this law, first of all, is to encourage whistleblowers to report cases of these anomalies and corruption to the Inspectorate of Government. But within the law, there is an incentive. If you report a case and we investigate and recover, then the whistleblower is entitled to 5% of the proceeds. But a whistleblower is also cautioned not to go and blow his cover and let everybody know that he has reported. Because many a times people report cases to us and then they go back and begin talking about it that, well, I've reported. I've reported this matter. So in so doing, the whistleblower is exposing himself. In the event that a whistleblower exposes himself, then he ceases to be a whistleblower. We then treat that person as an informer, because still under the Anti-Corruption Act, Section 32, there is a provision to protect the informer, and the informer is also entitled to a 5% of the proceeds, but he doesn't then become a whistleblower. He will have exposed himself, yes. But it is quite challenging dealing with cases of corruption. For instance, a case of bribery, in order to prove a bribe, it's very complicated, because here you have a willing giver and a willing recipient. We only discover that somebody had paid a bribe when one of the parties was discontented and has come to report, and he, under the jacket of a whistleblower. So you then see one of the criminals turning out to be an informer. So it is quite challenging. But we encourage people, we encourage our citizens to keep reporting cases of corruption, because corruption has got enormous effects on the public and national development. But when we work together in partnership with the citizens, I think we shall take longer strides and be able to change the whole perspective on the fight against corruption.
Okay. Well, we are going for a short commercial break, but please do not go any further, because we are here discussing the 4 years, of course, with Dr. Patricia Achan of fighting corruption in Uganda, the Deputy Inspector General of Government. So please do stay tuned. We'll be right back in a few minutes.
Issues at hand. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. Regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. This is Church of Uganda Family TV. Enriching lives. regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission. Issues at hand.
Welcome back, and of course today we are talking about fighting corruption in Uganda, and I'm with the Deputy Inspector General of Government, Dr. Patricia Achan Okiria, who is giving us a lot of information, regarding, of course, the 4 years, the achievements that it has had. Well, the 4 years is coming to an end in a month's time. So, just to continue with our very interesting conversation, how do you measure the effectiveness of the inspectorate's interventions, overall? And what do you have any reports of the impact that it has had over this period?
Hope, in terms of effectiveness, we have got our achievements highlighted in our reports. We report twice to Parliament, and those reports have got, in terms of statistics, the numbers of cases we have done, the conviction rates, and so on, the engagement with the stakeholders, and so on. So the Inspectorate of Government, like I said, is the lead anti-corruption agency in the country, and we have leveraged stakeholder engagement, especially work with the civil society, our partners, interagency forum, but also regionally, we have got the East African Anti-Corruption Association of Anti-Corruption Agencies, where we are at the moment president of the YACA, and in those partnerships, we get to work together with our sister agencies in the regions. They get to give us support when we're investigating cases across borders, and we get to give them similar support. We benchmark for best practice, and they also benchmark from us for best practice. So where we have scored, they come and see, hey, how did they do this, and so on, which is a very, very interesting and also exciting partnership. But also from the African Union level, I am at the moment vice president for the common position on asset recovery in Africa, where we basically focus on asset recovery. How can we get to recover our assets across, and how can they get to recover their assets their citizens have probably deposited and hidden in our country? So that is the essence or spirit behind that collaboration. But we also do new innovative ways on how to deal with corruption issues regionally and sub-regionally, which is very, very important. Then we have also taken on public education and awareness and advocacy, which is basically a strategy for informing the public, for influencing and mobilizing individual communities to own the war against corruption. And we have achieved 74.7% conviction rate in corruption cases. So we see that the law is working, and the public must work with us. If the law is working, we still keep appealing to the public to join us and work with us and keep reporting more and more, because when we achieve, then it's the public achieving, because these are the cases they report to us, and when we obtain a conviction, then it is them who have helped us to do this. Then in terms of the lifestyle audit, there is low and mild levels of officers who are very crucial, especially when it comes to reporting the syndicated corruption. And I'm here talking about corruption which is hidden, and it is syndicate. But these are the people who know where it is, where the rot is internally. And this is the reason why the inspectorate decided to initiate and develop TAC, the TAC strategy. This is transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption, which is now in the NDP4, and we are just getting ready to roll it out to all ministries, departments, and agencies. Because in this TAC strategy, we expect that each ministry, department, and agency will come up with its own anti-corruption measures. And this is another new initiative we have in the IG, because in TAC, we expect to see service delivery improve. We expect to see a decline in cases of absenteeism. We expect to see people who are more patriotic and ready to serve their country at a different level altogether. So we have basically come up with that as an initiative to improve on our work. Then we've relied heavily on social media, because social media basically has helped. We have had people report cases. So with the emergence of social media, we have used it as a critical digital platform for engaging the public about social and governance issues, as well as providing feedback. We're able to now give feedback. People are able to get to know the level their cases have gotten to, whether it is sanctioned at investigation level, and so on.
Yes.
So this institutional effort alone is not enough. We need every Ugandan out there to join this war against corruption, because like we said earlier, it's a people's war. Then as the Inspectorate of Government, we have been able to save over 10 trillion shillings, which is lost to corruption, and there is evidence of this in what we have in our asset recovery fund. When we recover money or property, when people forfeit their property for unexplained wealth, then that becomes part of what we have recovered in the Inspectorate of Government. At the moment, we are going to begin engaging with the government chief valuer to see how we can get to dispose of those properties and we get that money plowed back into the government coffers, which is very, very important, again, also as a milestone for the Inspectorate of Government. And then we have tried to equip staff with skills also through training. We have trained our staff. We have a professional team of investigators, and we introduced the prosecution-led investigation, where the prosecutor works with the investigator. The prosecutor shows the investigator leads on what can help this be a successful case at prosecution. And we have seen this work very well, and this is the reason why you heard me say our conviction rate has increased to 94% in the Inspectorate of Government. So all this is attributed to our partnership and strategic alliances with the civil society, with the community, and we see the community now owning the war against corruption. The community is more vigilant. Anything that happens, then it's all over social media, and we get to take it up at our own initiative, which I think has really worked for us in the 4 years. And when we say the war against corruption is a people's war, the people understand that it is their war. But of course, amidst this, there are challenges. There are people who are still lost in lamentations. They are still in lamentations, and they are complaining, government etuyambe, government etuyambe. We need to help ourselves by coming out to own this war against corruption, by reporting, so that we take action and get to minimize the levels of corruption in this country.
There's something you mentioned about, should I say, asset acquisition. For instance, you said that you work with also other international bodies that help, just in case someone has bought an asset outside the country. Could you just give us a small process of how you reclaim it, should I say?
Yes, we do partner with our sister agencies in the region, sub-region, and even internationally. We get to write and make a request for mutual legal assistance. Mutual legal assistance, and then when they accept to cooperate, then they give us the information. So and so X has acquired ABCD. We suspect that this is illicitly acquired. Please check here and see if this is within his or her well-known sources of income, and so on. So that is how we work through mutual legal assistance. But we also have instances where people are using forged documents. Somebody goes to Tanzania and is applying for a job and say, but I studied in Makerere. So the agency then writes to us and say, please check with your records in Makerere. Did this person get these qualifications from there? And then we quickly write to Vice Chancellor Makerere, background checks, and then you discover this person is not on the record. We say, sorry, this was not from Makerere. Then they discover it was forged. Then we've done that a lot, especially with our neighboring partners in Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Burundi. It has been very, very helpful, especially when we have that mutual legal assistance agreements to work together. And how do we get those agreements? Through our partnerships and networks again. We then get to sit and draft and agree on the terms.
Recently, actually, the president has come out to ensure that these people who fake documents are actually, they are charged in one way or another. So how do you think we can fight this form of corruption? Because it is something that is very common. We see a lot of fake documents. People who are actually skilled are not getting jobs because of this. So how do you think we can fight best?
The fight against corruption needs a systemic approach to these issues. If we can be able to access the databases of the different institutions people claim they have gone to, then we will completely wipe out this issue of NASA road papers or certificates. So, and also I think the Public Service Commission needs to be purposeful and intentional, engage with the district service commissions and ensure that they are facilitated enough to do a good job, because these claims of people saying they're buying jobs, these claims of people submitting fake papers has become a problem. We have been handling cases of people. There's a case we did where someone worked for 18 years on forged papers.
Wow.
Or on papers which are not theirs. So just imagine if that person is a doctor or a nurse, what service, what quality of service would they be offering out there when we talk about service delivery? So I think we need to be intentional and purposeful and get to sieve and weed these people out. And even the incompetent people who get jobs without competing adequately need to be weeded out by subjecting them to some competency tests. Yes, so I think we need to be really, really strategic in that area. But we have recently issued a report where our study revealed that many people out there are bribing for I think you have read that somewhere, and that bribery or paying for jobs must be wiped out completely, must be dealt with at a different level altogether in order to have quality technical people employed and taking up positions of responsibility. And then the district service commissions, I think Public Service Commission is going to do something. We were thinking about wiping them off completely so that we have ad hoc service commissions or regional service commissions, because the whole thing of buying jobs has become something else in this country. We only get to know in the Inspectorate of Government if someone paid his money and was not given the job. Then when it comes to complain, then we realize, oh, this person actually did pay a bribe and was not given the job, and now he wants his money back.
Exactly.
But remember, bribery, we said it's a giver and recipient. However, we have been able to arrest some culprits who have been involved in this, and there are a number of cases we're still also investigating involving service commissions. You heard about the presidential directive on CAA, and over 130 people are supposed to be sacked because of this kind of issues, you know, this whole talk of incompetence, and then you actually get to investigate and discover people did not qualify for the positions they were given, or they were just smuggled into the system and so on. So, and that still relates to what we are talking about, integrity. If you're a person of integrity, you would not let a window for people who are incompetent to get into institutions, because when you do that, then you're ruining the institutions and causing the breakdown we are having in our country. So I think it really needs to be dealt with at a higher level so that we improve on the quality of the and competence of the people who are taking on positions of responsibility.
Then also, just to ask, where does Uganda stand in East Africa, or should I say in the whole of Africa, in fighting corruption? Where do we? Are we somewhere? Are we going? Are we heading there at least?
Well, Hope, I can tell you there is hope. There is hope in this war against corruption, because as we stand now, the region keeps coming to us for benchmarking. They believe in our administration, they believe in our services, they believe in the fight against corruption, and these strategies we have instituted in the IG is admirable in the region. And this is the reason why we are president for IACA at the moment, and we are vice president for the common position on asset recovery in Africa within AUABC, African Union. They believe in us, they believe in our services, they admire the strategies that are working here, and this is the reason why they come to benchmark. Even the African Ombudsman, they come to benchmark here to see how we are handling ombudsman cases, how our Directorate of Ombudsman is faring, and they admire especially the boardroom sessions, because we also have the ADR, where we think sometimes we can dispose of so many cases through the boardroom sessions. So they have really admired even our online asset declaration. The Republic of Mali sent a delegation to do benchmarking here, basically to see how we do the online declarations of incomes, assets, and liabilities by public officials, and they take those best practices back home.
Yes.
And so, as a country, as an institution, we are really, really proud about that, because if our neighbors are believing in us, then even our citizens here, our people need to believe in the institution, and that's why we need to work together.
Yes.
So, like I said, hope. There is hope in the war against corruption, and I know if we go in this direction, we are going to cause the mindset change, which we have always preached about. But it is just about leaders upholding these values and principles of integrity, trustworthiness, truthfulness, and working with honesty. Yes.
Yes. Okay, then what are the future prospects for the Inspectorate of Government?
The future of the Inspectorate of Government is bright. We I don't know whether to say we have taken off like the economy of the country, but I think progressively, with the realization of resources, the Inspectorate of Government is growing. We have got 16 regional offices. We have empowered the regional offices to do a replica of what happens at the headquarters. We have equipped our staff, and they are ready to handle all sorts of cases, to handle media engagements, to interact with the public in the barazas, to interface with the community. Like under the Transparency, Accountability, and Anti-Corruption, we have equipped our staff really to go the extra mile, and we have kept on training and retooling and equipping them with more and more knowledge, so that they can really be able to do a very good job. So we are very hopeful going forward. We are going to see lots of improvement. Even the perception, the public perception on the war against corruption is bound to change. Going forward, we are going to be updating the public, updating wananchi on the progress in the war against corruption by letting them know this month we have been able to handle ABCD. Projectedly next month we are going to do ABCD, and we are going to be doing this together.
Yes.
So that the public is informed and aware of the number of cases in terms of statistics, the convictions in terms of statistics, the awareness programs and engagements in terms of statistics, and even this promotion of transparency, accountability, and anti-corruption. It is the public to work close with. Yes.
Now, this comes to you directly as the Deputy Inspector General of Government. What legacy would you want to leave behind?
Well, if they say now I go, Hope, it's a difficult question. But the legacy I want to leave behind is service beyond self, service with humility. Because when we serve with humility, then people become touched by that level of humility. Service with integrity. When we present ourselves as exemplary, then people will admire and say, no, I want to be, when I grow up, I want to be like this person. Because of that, the principles you stand for. Honesty, truthfulness, integrity, and you present yourself with humility. Because there are leaders out there who are like, oh, they have arrived, but leadership is about service. So we are servants, and we are hereby serving the people. So for me as a legacy, it's just that. Service with humility. But please don't ask me that kind of question again, because these things are very, very complicated to talk about.
No, I mean, if you're able to encounter the challenges and go through them, why not? You still stand strong. Yes. Then also, how can ordinary Ugandans be empowered to see that they come together and participate against corruption in the country?
Well, we need a holistic approach in the war against corruption, whereby ordinary Ugandans, we need to put our heads together and think about strategies which work for us. As an individual, you know that if you are a victim of corruption, you will go to hospital and not get drugs, so you need to pay a bribe in order to get government services. So I think as an ordinary Ugandan, you need to be intentional and purposeful and say, for me, I want to make a difference. I will report these cases. I will record this using the phone and send to the IG. I will take this initiative. So it's about owning the war against corruption, because it is our war. And this country, Uganda, is ours. So if we let it go to the dogs, or let the dogs come to it, then we are then doing a disservice. And especially now that we are going into elections, citizens out there, we need to vote for leaders of integrity, We need to vote for leaders who are honest, who are truthful, not these who go riding on lies and stabbing each other left, right, and center because they just want your vote. Do not allow to take a bribe for your vote, because your vote counts, and your vote is what will improve the state of affairs in this country. If you have voted wisely for a leader of purpose, a leader of integrity, a leader who serves with humility. Thank you.
And also, I'd like you to talk to the leaders out there. You know, in order to serve the country or wherever in different ways that leaders are serving, and we, the people who are down here, the people that look up to them, definitely go according to what they do. So please kindly speak to the leaders out there.
Well, leaders out there, I encourage you to mentor other leaders, to mentor the young people, because they are the future leaders. They look up to you as leaders in this country. So hold somebody's hand, inspire somebody, encourage somebody, transform somebody's life by your mentorship. And also be exemplary, because it is very, very difficult to say you're mentoring someone and you're not exemplary. Offer leadership by example, by modeling the way, by walking the talk, by setting the tone of what a leader, a true leader, should be. Serve with integrity. Serve with purpose. Yes.
Any other parting shots you may have?
Parting shots, I encourage the listeners and viewers out there to join hands in the war against corruption, because like we have said, this is a people's war and we are counting on you. Let's be like the Nehemiahs who built the walls of Jerusalem. Let's rebuild the walls of this country, especially in respect to the war against corruption. And together we will emerge victorious in this all. May God bless you all, and thank you for viewing and listening to us.
Well, there you had it from Dr. Patricia Achan Okiria, the Deputy Inspector General of Government, who has given us very, very insightful words here. Of course, fighting with corruption, this is something that is not just up to one individual, but it is up to us as individuals, as citizens of Uganda, as leaders of Uganda. This is a voice that we need to fight in the country for a better Uganda. And yes, of course, this means that we have come to the end of the show. Thank you for always staying tuned to Church of Uganda Family TV from 7 a.m. to now almost 10 a.m. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, and of course to bring you very, very insightful discussions. And it is time for me to say goodbye, but please do not go any further, because we will be coming to you with many more programs, but also I'll be coming back in the evening for News at 8. But for now, it is me wishing you a blessed day.
Issues at hand. This is Church of Uganda.